Dr. Chalmer, medical marijuana stocks have really been the focus for traders over the past 6 months, I would say. Even Cara, traders have this conception that it's related to that, but it's really not. There's a bigger story behind it. Stocks had a nice run this morning, just a couple weeks after the IPO, up 3.3% as we speak right now. But tell everyone what it's really about.
Yeah, I think, the cannabinoid program for us is an important program, but it's an early program. And it ties into the whole theme behind the company, which is, can we produce analgesics which are safer than traditional analgesics? Our lead program is an opioid-based program, targets an opioid receptor, but not an opioid receptor in the brain. So the advantage here is we can produce analgesia in the absence of traditional opioid side effects, which are mediated via interactions in the brain. So, for example, we don't induce respiratory depression via our mechanism, and ultimately we don't have abusability via the drug. So the promise of our approach is analgesia in the absence of traditional narcotic side effects. Similarly, with the cannabinoid approach, we don't adopt the mixture approach, if you like, where we're looking at non-selective cannabinoid activation. We've very selectively targeted specific cannabinoid receptors, again in the periphery. So we can produce an anti-neuropathic pain type approach response in the absence of central cannabinoid activity. That's the key difference between our approach and traditional approaches. So
there's also a big misconception that opiate-based pharmaceuticals are dangerous. You hear all the time in the news that an actor or whoever has abused an opiate-based product. How is this different? How is it considered safe?
Yeah, well, traditional opioid-based therapeutics are dangerous ultimately, and that's due to the particular receptor target upon which those are developed, which is a receptor target, as I said, that predominantly acts via the central nervous system, that does produce analgesia, but it also ensues this range of side effects related to overdosage. So respiratory depression being the most dangerous, but acutely you'd see a nausea and vomiting response, you'd see sedation, dizziness, confusion, aspects we're all familiar with if we've taken even a small dose of narcotic opioid. With our approach, we target an opioid receptor specifically on peripheral nerve endings. So if you like, we produce the analgesia at the site of injury in the periphery, and we have no CNS activity. So that engenders analgesia in the absence of these traditional narcotic side effects. So it's a safer, if you like, opioid approach.
A big story behind the stock is the patent profile. Because it's 3 different areas, so can you get into that a little bit for us?
These are all entirely novel molecules, entirely novel chemotypes, so these are not reformulations of older classical narcotics, perhaps formulated with an antagonist to reduce abusability. These are entirely novel chemicals where we have composition of matter patents already issued here in the US, already issued in the EU, but for both programs. So it's a very different approach, different chemistry, engendering different clinical profile.
So it sounds like all the factors are in place, and it looks like the growth story will eventually come to fruition. You'll execute. When do you expect to be profitable?
Well, we're not looking quite that far ahead. We're looking towards approval of the first medication. So we have an intravenous form of our lead molecule, which is in phase 2 at the minute. We're hoping to get to conversations with the agency this year about initiating phase 3 studies. If that's successful, then we'd be moving towards phase 3s and ultimately approval somewhere in the 2016 timeframe.